"Don't touch me like that again," Ekanem said, his voice deep and cold. His eyes met Martha's, not as a son looking at his mother, but as a stranger, a man raised in absence. The slap mark reddened on his cheek while rain pounded the tin roof above them. Martha's hand trembled in mid-air, her body frozen by the realization that the baby she had raised alone for 15 years now towered over her, with eyes she didn't recognize. They say a woman can do anything in this world, but not everything, and certainly not alone. Martha Okonkwo was just 22 when she first held Ekanem in her arms at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. The birth had been difficult, 17 hours of labor, ending in an emergency situation that left her weak and alone in a room full of mothers receiving flowers and visits from proud fathers. Ekanem's father, Uche, had left 3 months into her pregnancy. "I got accepted to a program in London," he had said, not meeting her eyes as he packed his bags. "This is my only chance." He promised to send for them both. When he got settled, the calls became texts, the texts became rare, then nothing. Martha looked down at her newborn son's face, the same proud nose as his father's, the same stubborn chin. Her mother and aunties had warned her about men from the city, but warnings never sound as loud as love. "I will raise you to be a man," she whispered to the sleeping baby, "even if I have to be your mother, your father, and the entire village." For the first 10 years, it seemed possible. Martha worked double shifts at the bank, took night classes to finish her accounting degree, and still managed to cook meals from scratch. She braided her own hair to save money for Ekanem's school fees at Lakefield Academy, the best school she could afford on her rising but still modest salary. Ekanem grew tall and bright. His teachers praised his quick mind. Martha fed him morals like they were essential vitamins: respect, hard work, prayer, discipline. She taught him to wash his clothes, to cook simple meals, to be polite to elders. Every night she checked his homework before prayers. Every weekend they attended church together, where Ekanem served as an altar boy. "Your son is so well behaved," the church mothers would say, impressed with his crisp shirt and perfect manners. "You are doing a wonderful job alone." Martha would smile and nod, ignoring the gentle emphasis they placed on alone. In private moments, however, she worried. She noticed how Ekanem watched men, how he studied the way they walked, spoke, laughed, how he lingered near the fathers who came to pick up their children from school, how he asked questions she couldn't answer. "How tall will I grow, Mama? When will my voice change? Is it normal to feel angry all the time?" Martha answered as best she could, but some questions required more than research. They required experience she didn't have. When Ekanem turned 13, the silences began. The cheerful boy who shared every detail of his day became a quiet teenager who grunted one-word answers. He grew 5 inches in a single year. His voice cracked and deepened. He started locking his bedroom door. Martha told herself this was normal. All boys change during puberty. But in the quiet moments when sleep wouldn't come, she admitted to herself that something was missing in their home, something she couldn't provide, no matter how hard she worked or how much she loved her son. The day Ekanem brought Chuka home was the day Martha felt true fear. Chuka was 22, owned a motorcycle, and wore gold chains that caught the light when he moved. He called Martha Mama with a familiarity that made her skin crawl. He's helping me with school, Ekanem explained, not meeting her eyes. What subject? Martha asked. Life, Chuka answered with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. After Chuka left, Martha confronted her son. That man is too old to be your friend. I don't want him in this house again. You don't understand, Ekanem argued. Chuka knows things, important things, things about being a man. I know what kind of man he is, Martha said. And that's not the kind of man I'm raising you to be. Ekanem laughed, a sound that cut Martha deeper than any knife. And how would you know what kind of man to raise? You're not a man. The words hung between them, raw and true. Over the next months, Ekanem changed. His grades dropped. He started coming home late. He wore new clothes Martha hadn't bought. When she questioned him, he answered with silence or anger. The boy who once shared everything now kept secrets like treasures. Martha prayed harder. She worked harder. She loved harder. But the distance grew. Then came the rainy evening when she was cleaning Ekanem's room and found cigarettes hidden in his school bag. Not just cigarettes, expensive foreign ones Martha had seen Chuka smoking outside their apartment building. When Ekanem came home, she confronted him, the evidence laid out on the kitchen table between them. This will kill you, she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. Ekanem shrugged. Everyone dies. Is this who you want to be? Is this what you're learning from that man? At least he doesn't treat me like a child. You are a child. My child, Ekanem hissed, a sound of pure contempt, and turned to walk away. Something in Martha snapped. After years of patience, sacrifice, and restraint, she reached out and slapped him across the face. The sound cracked through their small apartment like lightning. And that's when it happened, when her son looked at her not as his mother, but as a woman who had crossed a line. Don't touch me like that again, he warned, his voice low and dangerous. Martha collapsed on the couch after he stormed out, her body shaking with sobs. For the first time in 15 years, she admitted a truth she had been fighting. She was losing her son. Despite every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every extra shift worked, she was failing at the one job that mattered most. That night, with shaking hands, she did something she had promised herself she would never do. She searched for Uche Okonkwo on Facebook. His profile showed a smiling man in a tailored suit standing in front of London Bridge. He looked successful, happy, unburdened. Martha composed and deleted 5 messages before finally sending one. Our son needs his father. Please. She didn't expect a response. But 3 days later, as she was helping an elderly customer at the bank, her phone buzzed with a message. I'll be in Lagos next week. Send me the address. When Uche arrived at the apartment, Martha barely recognized him. His hair had thinned and it gained weight around the middle. His accent now carried traces of British pronunciation, but his eyes, those were the same eyes that had once looked at her with love, now clouded with shame and regret. Ekanem refused to speak when they were introduced. He stared at his father with burning eyes, then locked himself in his room. He hates me, Uche said, staring at the closed door. He doesn't know you, Martha replied. Neither do I anymore. That night, after Martha went to bed, Uche knocked on Ekanem's door. Martha listened from her room as Uche asked his son to go for a drive. To her surprise, Ekanem agreed. He didn't return for 3 hours. Martha paced the apartment, imagining accidents, kidnappings, Uche taking their son back to London. When the door finally opened, Ekanem walked straight to his room without a word. But something had changed. The hard edge in his shoulders had softened. "What did you say to him?" Martha asked Uche as he sat heavily on their couch. "The truth," Uche answered, "that I left because I was scared. That seeing him now, I see myself at his age, angry, trying to find his way without a compass. That the worst mistake of my life wasn't leaving London, but leaving him. And he believed you?" "He didn't say, but he listened." Uche rubbed his hands over his face. "I told him about my father, how he beat me, how I swore I'd never be like him, how running away from being a bad father turned me into no father at all." The next morning, to Martha's shock, Ekanem emerged for breakfast. He didn't speak much, but he ate the eggs she cooked. And when Uche asked if he wanted to go to the mall, he nodded. Uche was supposed to stay for 1 week. He stayed for a month, then 2. He found a job teaching at a technical college, rented a small apartment nearby. He didn't try to force his way back into Martha's life, but he showed up for Ekanem consistently, patiently. Slowly, things began to change. Ekanem stopped seeing Chuka. His grades improved. The sullen silences grew shorter. One evening, Martha came home to find Uche and Ekanem on the balcony, facing the broken railing together, their hands working in parallel, their voices low in conversation. "He's still angry," Uche told Martha later. "But it's clean anger now, honest. He needs that before he can let it go." 6 months after Uche's return, Ekanem knocked on Martha's bedroom door one night. When she opened it, he stood awkwardly in the hallway, taller than ever, but somehow looking young again. "I'm sorry, Mama," he said, his voice breaking, "for everything." Martha pulled him into her arms, feeling the man-child tension in his body. Too old for a hug, too young to refuse one. "I'm sorry too," she whispered, "for trying to be everything, for not being able to." "Dad says you were amazing, that you did what he couldn't." Martha felt tears prick her eyes at the easy way he said, "Dad," a word that had been forbidden in their home for so long. "We both made mistakes," she said, "but we both love you." 3 years later, Martha sat in the front row at Ekanem's university graduation. Uche sat beside her, not as her husband, that bridge had burned too completely to rebuild, but as her co-parent, her partner in the most important work of her life. When Ekanem took the stage to receive his engineering degree, he paused at the microphone. "This achievement belongs to my mother, who tried to be everything I needed," he said, his voice carrying across the silent auditorium. "And to my father, who came back in time. They taught me that it's never too late to become what you might have been." As they posed for photos afterward, Martha, Ekanem, and Uche, a woman approached them with a knowing smile. "Your family is beautiful," she said to Martha. Martha looked at her son, now a young man with clear eyes and a steady voice, standing between his parents. Not a perfect family, but a complete one. "Yes," she agreed, "it is." In Lagos, they still tell the story of Martha Okonkwo, the woman who tried to raise a man alone, not as a tale of failure, but as one of courage and humility. A reminder that a woman can birth a son and raise him with all the strength in her soul. But to raise a man requires a village, and sometimes that village must include another man. A woman can do almost anything in this world, but some things were never meant to be done alone. Share your thoughts about this story in the comments section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more exciting stories from the heart of Africa.